The myth we've been sold, why Black women's entrepreneurship isn't about passion, it's about survival. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Soft Girl Era podcast, where we create sacred space for high achieving Black women to unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom they deserve without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French, and I'm your guide from burnout to boundaries, from doing to being, from strong to soft, and loving every second of it. Today, I had the extraordinary privilege of sitting down with Sakita Joyner, a visionary leader, advocate, and change maker who is transforming how we understand Black women's entrepreneurship in America. Sakita is not just observing the shift, she is documenting it, amplifying it, and ensuring that the stories of resilience, innovation, and radical reimagining are told with the dignity and power they deserve. Through her work with the California Black Women's Collective Empowerment Institute, she is making the world a better place by challenging the narratives that have long diminished Black women's contributions and by creating pathways for economic empowerment and community uplift. What I'm about to share with you today comes directly from the insights Sakita shared with me. Insights that will challenge what you think you know about entrepreneurship, choice, and survival. Let me ask you something. When you hear the phrase Black women entrepreneurs, what comes to mind? Maybe you think of passion, independence, a woman who woke up one day and decided she wanted to be her own boss, a woman who chose freedom over the 9 to 5 grind, a woman who wanted flexibility, creativity, control. That's the story we've been told, isn't it? Entrepreneurship is aspiration. Entrepreneurship is ambition. Entrepreneurship is the American dream wrapped in a bow of self determination. But here's what Sakita Joyner revealed to me, and it stopped me in my tracks. For a significant number of Black women, entrepreneurship is not a choice born out of passion or independence. It is a necessity born out of instability and systemic inequity in the workforce. It is not simply a lifestyle decision, it is survival. It is self determination in the face of systems that were never designed to support them. The recent wave of layoffs, wage gaps, and workplace discrimination has forced Black women to pivot to entrepreneurship, not because they dreamed of it, but because they had no other option. Let that sink in for a moment. We celebrate Black women entrepreneurs. We applaud their hustle. We admire their resilience. But we rarely ask the question, what forced them into this position in the first place? What doors were slammed shut before they ever had the chance to knock? What rooms were they locked out of? What tables were they told didn't have space for them? Sakita shared with me the findings from the California Black Women's Collective Empowerment Institute, and the numbers are staggering. In 2025, over 300,000 Black women in California alone were laid off or pushed out of the workforce. 300,000. Let me say that again. 300,000 Black women. These were not women who were underperforming. These were not women who lacked skills or education or work ethic. These were women navigating a system riddled with wage gaps, discrimination, and limited advancement opportunities. Black women in California were earning an average of $54,000, while white men were earning $90,000 for comparable work. That is not a gap, that is a chasm, that is a message. And the message is clear: you are not valued here, you are not wanted here, you are expendable here. So, what did these women do? They didn't give up. They didn't disappear. They didn't crumble under the weight of rejection. They rebuilt. 59% started businesses or freelance work. 52% switched industries entirely. 30% retrained or returned to school. They leaned on networks. They leaned on faith. They leaned on community. And they created something new, not because it was their first choice, but because it was their only choice. Think about that for a second. Imagine being told you're not enough. Imagine being pushed out of spaces you worked your entire life to enter. Imagine having bills to pay, children to feed, dreams deferred, and then imagine having to summon the courage, the creativity, the audacity to start over, to bet on yourself when the world has already bet against you. That is not just entrepreneurship. That is alchemy. That is turning pain into power. That is taking rejection and transforming it into reinvention. Now, let me introduce you to two women who embody this reality: Tiffany Vini and Leslie Frello. Both left stable jobs to co found the Wine Concierge, an e commerce platform dedicated to minority produced wines. On the surface, this looks like a classic entrepreneurial success story. Two women with a vision, a gap in the market, a mission driven business model. And yes, it is that, but it is also more than that. Tiffany and Leslie faced the uncertainty of leaving traditional employment in a market where Black women are vastly underrepresented. They had to navigate an industry that didn't see them, didn't value them, didn't make space for them. They utilized COVID relief loans, leveraged their networks, and focused on uplifting small Black owned brands. Today, the Wine Concierge is thriving. It features a wine club, hosts events, and provides a platform for underrepresented winemakers. But here's the truth beneath the triumph: they had to create the space they were never given, they had to build the table they were never invited to sit at. Their success is not just about wine, it is about visibility. It is about reclaiming economic power. It is about saying, if you won't make room for us, we will make room for ourselves. And this is not an isolated story. This is a movement, a quiet, powerful, relentless movement of Black women who are refusing to be erased, who are refusing to shrink, who are refusing to wait for permission. But let's be clear: this movement is happening in spite of the system, not because of it. Research from the National Bureau of Economic Research reveals that Black entrepreneurs start businesses at a 22% lower rate than their white counterparts. They face higher failure rates. They encounter more difficulty securing investment. And Black women, they face even greater challenges. The data shows that despite these barriers, the exit rate for female founded venture capital backed startups is notable at 19.4%. Progress is being made through deregulation of private capital markets, increased participation of non traditional investors, and targeted support for minority founders. But progress is slow, painfully slow. And while we celebrate the wins, we cannot ignore the structural inequities that continue to hold Black women back: historical wealth gaps, limited access to networks, persistent stereotypes. These are not relics of the past. These are present day realities. These are barriers that Black women are climbing over, breaking through, and dismantling with their bare hands every single day. So here's what I want you to understand: when we talk about Black women entrepreneurs, we are not just talking about business. We are talking about resilience in the face of rejection. We are talking about innovation born out of necessity. We are talking about women who are building not just for themselves, but for their families, their communities, their futures. We are talking about women who are redefining what strength looks like, who are proving that softness and power can coexist, who are showing us that rest is not weakness, it is resistance. And this brings me back to the heart of the soft girl era, because what Sakita Joyner helped me see is that entrepreneurship for Black women is not just about business strategy or market trends. It is about reclaiming agency. It is about setting boundaries. It is about saying no to systems that exploit and yes to visions that empower. It is about learning to be soft in a world that taught survival. It is about releasing the cape, redefining strength, and protecting peace as a practice. The women in the California Black Women's Collective Empowerment Institute, Tiffany and Leslie, the countless others who are building businesses in the margins, they are not just entrepreneurs. They are healers. They are disruptors. They are architects of a new economy, one that centers community, equity, and joy. But here's the uncomfortable truth: their success should not require superhuman effort. Their brilliance should not have to be proven over and over again. Their worthiness should not be contingent on their ability to overcome impossible odds. And yet, that is the reality. That is the system. That is what we are up against. So, what do we do? How do we move from acknowledgement to action? How do we shift from celebrating resilience to dismantling the systems that make resilience necessary in the first place? Here's what I know: we all have a role to play, every single one of us. If you are an investor, fund Black women, not as a favor, not as charity, but as a sound business decision. Because Black women are building businesses that are sustainable, innovative, and community centered. If you are a mentor, show up, share your network, open doors, make introductions, use your privilege to create pathways. If you are a consumer, buy from Black owned businesses, support them, recommend them, celebrate them. If you are a leader, create opportunities, hire Black women, promote Black women, pay Black women what they are worth. If you are a friend, listen, hold space, believe Black women when they tell you about their experiences. If you are a human being with access to resources, networks, or platforms, use them. Use them intentionally, use them courageously, use them now. Because here's the truth we need to face: Black women should not have to be extraordinary to be valued. They should not have to hustle twice as hard to get half as far. They should not have to build empires out of scraps just to prove they deserve a seat at the table. Black women deserve to thrive, not just survive. They deserve to rest, not just hustle. They deserve to be soft, not just strong. They deserve to dream, not just endure. And until we dismantle the systems that force Black women into survival mode, we are all complicit. We are all part of the problem. So here's my challenge to you: what barrier will you remove today? Not tomorrow, not next quarter, not when it's convenient, today. What door will you open? What opportunity will you create? What voice will you amplify? What investment will you make? What conversation will you start? What system will you disrupt? Because the soft girl era is not just about individual transformation, it is about collective liberation. It is about creating a world where Black women do not have to choose between survival and softness. It is about building systems that honor rest, that value wholeness, that celebrate joy without requiring trauma as the entry fee. To every Black woman listening, whether you are an entrepreneur, a dreamer, a healer, a leader, or someone who is simply trying to make it through the day, I see you. Your labor is not invisible. Your brilliance is not in question. Your softness is not weakness. You do not have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You do not have to prove your worth. You are enough exactly as you are. And to everyone else, this is not a request. This is a demand. Step into the work, dismantle the barriers, amplify the voices, support the vision, fund the dream, create the pathway, be the bridge. Because when Black women thrive, we all thrive. When Black women are free, we all move closer to freedom. When Black women rest, we all remember what peace feels like. When Black women lead, we all see what true power looks like. The question is not whether you have the power to make a difference. The question is whether you will use it. The question is whether you will choose comfort or courage. The question is whether you will be complicit or committed. So I'm asking you again: What barrier will you remove today? What door will you open? What life will you change? The time is now. The choice is yours, and the world is waiting.